It starts!
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the first episode of Late Night with the Cape Crusader, Late Night with Batman. My name is Drew, and I am one of your hosts. Let me show myself, in front of my green screen, which is going to be an actual green screen, something or other, eventually, but is not working tonight. And joining me, we've got everybody's favorite sidekick, Miles. Say hello, Miles.
Hi, everybody.
Why are you wiggling? That is really weird. What is that? What is happening right there?
Oh, I'm wiggling?
Yeah. Like your video is just wiggling. I don't know. Anyway, we're live, so we're not going to worry about that right now. My dog is going on the floor. And we've also got Patrick.
Hey, everybody. I would agree very much so that Miles is the sidekick. Miles, you're way too happy all the time. You're upbeat.
Oh, I'm sorry, Patrick. I'll be a little more dour for you.
Yeah, bring it down. Cool it down.
Now my video is like, it's doing this weird, like, thing. I don't know what is up with that. That is super annoying. But I'm going to try to get rid of that, because that is...
The Joker is super annoying. Your camera slightly wiggling is a first world problem.
It's not a camera thing. It is a Google Hangout thing that is driving me up a wall, and I don't know why that's going on. But anyway, we don't have any viewers right now, so I'm just going to try to ignore it and hope that it's not something weird going on. Anyway.
Hey, welcome to the first episode.
Yeah.
Basically,
technical difficulties. This is freaking crazy.
Oh, God, that's a great name for a podcast.
Pat, Drew, and I are all really, really big Batman fans, and it became almost a hindrance on both the More Nerd and Obscure Reference podcasts that we kept talking about Batman all of the time. That our other co-host got pretty irritated with us 90% of the time. So we kind of got together and decided to just start our own Batman podcast so we could talk about Batman without persecution.
Without persecution.
But then we were like, we don't want to do another podcast. We want to be able to show off all the toys that we have in our room. Apparently,
I've got plenty of toys.
Toys and books. So we've jumped into the visual medium here. You might be listening to this in podcast form, but we decided to go for a live.
Yes, we are gonna try to do this live at youtube.com/late night show, late KNIGT.
Oh, get it? Go start.
Well, before we get into what we're actually going to try to do, let's try to introduce ourselves and how we got into Batman.
I was born. I wish I was kidding. The first memory I have is trying to read as a toddler, reading a Batman comic. I've said on the More You Nerd, the reason I became like a high reader as a young age was because I got into comics and I wanted to know what was going on in the pictures that I was, looking at. So I got reading lessons very early on, and Batman was always the most striking thing for me visually. As a child, I always thought he was the coolest looking thing I'd ever seen, and so that's where it started. Before any really developmental idea of Batman came in, it was just started with just the look of Batman.
I probably didn't pick up and read a Batman comic until the mid '90s. My name is Patrick, and my first Bat experience, if you will, was definitely 1989 Batman.
Oh, man.
First crazy big Bat film to come out of, a studio for 40 years before that. Michael Keaton as Bruce Wayne Batman. You got some of just the creepiest visuals of any superhero comic book movie ever, let alone one of the first major ones and one of the biggest characters.
You are absolutely right, Patrick. Because I remember being 5 years old. I was covering my eyes in the scene when the Joker electrocutes that one guy.
All right, no. So going back, we're gonna talk about this some more. But do you remember the trading cards they had for the movie that came with a bubble gum?
Yeah.
There was a card that showed it was like a 3-panel, 3 pictures I think on the card, and it showed him his skin
making that gun. Yeah.
That was the most disturbing, obviously part of that movie. Oh my gosh, so creepy. But that was not really a kid's film.
No,
But,
it's not.
I definitely saw that, and a couple years later, the Batman Returns. But that was my first exposure, I think, to Batman. And then my dad and I watched a lot of the '66 Batman, which was something else completely different, but still good in its own way. And then I've been reading Batman probably for like a decade, comic book wise. Yeah.
Well, my name is Drew. I'm one of the hosts of the More You Nerd podcast, and probably the most vocal Bat supporter out there today, of our crew at least. And I have, I talk about Batman all the time. Come on,
So do
guys.
I.
But I'm also a part Batman neophyte, part longtime Bat fan. My Bat experience started when I was very young, 5 years old, 4 years old, watching the 1960s Batman TV show in reruns. The Adam West, Burt Ward.
Same Bat time, same Bat channel.
Exactly. That will probably have something to do with whatever theme song we get for the show whenever we can get a theme song for the show. So I was way into Batman at that point. He was my favorite hero even then. And then the Tim Burton movie came out, and then the animated series started, and I was
don't get me started on the TAS, son.
Yeah, a huge fan of the animated series, and that was really it. I still loved Batman. He's always been a big hero of mine, but it's only been in the last year that I've started reading the Batman comics. And I have since gone a little crazy with that, and I have gone back to read nearly every issue of Batman since year one in the 80s to today. And that is that's my story.
And you're sticking to it.
That's
Your
right.
Bat path. Your Bat pilgrimage.
So, we wanted to do a few things on this show, and one of the first things we thought we would do is get into current issues of Batman. What's going on in the comics, what's going on in Bat's world. And I'm going to kick that over to talk about our first topic right now, which is just released last week, Batman 28, which is the flash forward issue into Batman Eternal. And you should see the cover of that issue staring you right at the face right now.
I read this, but I need you guys to give some, have they been teasing Bat Eternal for a while? Do we know?
No. Well,
Yes.
kinda. So we
what
should
it's gonna
talk about where Batman is in the comics, especially for folks that have not been reading the comics. DC Comics about 2 years ago, I guess 2011.
Yeah, it's 2011.
Relaunched all of their comic lines with something called the New 52. So
I call it the
instead
day the Earth stood still.
So whether you were at issue 200 or 758 or 692 or whatever, it all restarted to an issue 1. And a lot of things changed. A lot of characters got new origins. A lot of things happened, and some for better, some for worse. A lot of people would argue a lot for worse. Except Batman has been on a very tremendous run with its writer Scott Snyder and its artist Greg Capullo, and we have been in the midst right now of an arc called Year Zero, or Zero Year, which is basically going back to sort of Batman's first time coming, when Bruce Wayne came back from his journeys across the globe, when he learned how to be a detective and learned how to be a supreme martial artist and all of this. And we've basically been 5 or 6 years in the past for the last, 6 months?
Yeah, it's about... no, longer than that, because the second arc just ended. It's been
I guess
about
that's
8
true.
months.
I guess that's true.
So-
I got to go back and look at that. But they've also been teasing a lot of things with what's going on right now. So right now, the whole DC universe is involved in something called Forever Evil, which is a big crossover comic where the spoiler warning, I suppose, because we're going to spoil some things about, not too many, but we are going to spoil a few things, where the evil versions of all our favorite heroes from Earth 3 have come across from their dimension to our dimension and have basically conquered the planet. Well, because comic books have to sell issues not just today, but on and on and on into the future, they're also giving us sort of previews of what's going to happen. And one of the new titles that's coming is called Batman Eternal. It's going to be launching in April or May. And it's going to be a weekly comic instead of a monthly comic. So you're going to get week after week after week after week. And this issue 28 that just came out is a preview of what's going to be happening in the middle of that story. I believe Scott Snyder said that if this was going to be an actual issue number, it would be issue number 39.5. So we are looking, when we go back into talking about Batman Eternal, we are looking at a very different Gotham City. You've got security cameras everywhere. You've got police on the street enforcing a curfew. You've got a lot of different things. There is apparently some sort of sickness that is going on through the city, and stuff does not look so good in the world of Gotham City. You've also got a couple of new characters, or a couple of not-so-new characters, as we are introduced to Harper Row once again. Harper Row is a newer character that's been introduced in the New 52 run, and her first appearance as Bluebird, a new vigilante character in the Batman universe.
Who looks an awful lot like the classic Nightwing costume.
Yes. That's not the only big change. There are a number of other changes that, some of which we're going to talk about, some of which we're not going to spoil.
Don't look at me.
But for example, we don't see any of Batman's traditional sidekicks. There are no Robins in this book, at least that we have seen. We know that Tim Drake's Red Robin is going to be a part of Batman Eternal in a very big way. But the big question is, what's going to happen to Dick Grayson, the original Robin, who has been Nightwing for the last couple of years / decades.
Well, and Snyder has said a few times that this book is really about the supporting cast more so than just Batman, and so I feel like what he wanted to do was show Batman in within this context, but kind of give you a little just a little sampling of what was going to be happening. And I felt that the issue did a really good job of that. You got a little bit of Harper Row, who has been a big hit with the fans. And then you got, the return of Selena Kyle. You've got this weird curfew. What's going on? You've got a mysterious person in the Batcave, and then you also have the return of a character that a lot of DC fans, myself included, have been asking
no spoilers, Miles. No spoilers.
For a long time. Shut
no spoilers.
Up.
Just one spoiler.
Yeah, it's just one spoiler.
Yeah, no, so there were a lot of characters that were left by the wayside when kind of realities collapsed going into the New 52, and since we brought down a lot of the time that Batman has been operating, they just cut out some characters, cut out some Robins, basically. Like, I don't even know, was Tim Drake actually a Robin, or was he always Red Robin?
Technically, what's been said, yes and no. Okay, if you read the first issue of Teen Titans and the first issue of Batman, yes. However, afterwards, it's stated that he was always Red Robin and never implicitly Robin because he wanted to honor the namesake after Jason Todd died.
And I think there was actually an edit to one of the trades that changed him to Red Robin instead of Robin.
That was the Teen Titans. But then, weirdly enough, in Forever Evil, Jeff Johns has the Teen Titans calling Tim Drake Robin.
Confusing.
So in what happened? Because I want to say something about this as far as the time. Because of course comic books have this everything that's happening has always happened X number of years back and X number of years forward. So it's always going on in the present, even though none of the characters really ever age, at least not much. It's been 6 years since Batman started operating, according to the start of the New 52. I was reading a Batman arc. It was what was it? It was either part of Cataclysm or No Man's Land, I think, and it actually had a special issue that was the background of a lot of different characters and the background of basically this timeline. And in the old timeline, the pre-New 52 timeline, it posited that it had been 8 years since Batman first started. So in that 8 years, Dick Grayson had become Robin, Jason Todd had become Robin, Tim Drake had become Robin. Now this is all prior to, it was in, what is that? It was in the late 90s, so it's still prior to anything with Damian or Jason Todd's return or anything like that. But you're still only cutting out about 2, maybe 3 years from that time frame. Still super weird. And how do they have enough time? And Dick Grayson is now a 15-year-old Robin instead of an 8-year-old Robin, which is probably okay from a child abuse standpoint.
Right.
Well, yeah, and Batman's son, they genetically modified and engineered, or they gave that explanation for the New 52. It's like, how does he have an 8-year-old son if
10-year-old son? And have they ever actually officially given that explanation as to how he was aged?
They never gave any explanation to how he was aged. All they show is, and I can't remember if this is even pre-New 52, Talia looking at the little Damian fetus and this sort of glass orb computer connected deal.
That terrible Damian standalone comic, I think made reference to it.
It did.
The genetic kind of engineering that he underwent, and I'm perfectly fine with that because that follows comic book logic. I can jump on board. It's like, oh, he had a in a world where we have clones that are walking around that were artificially grown and advanced in age. If you're going to clone anyone, clone Batman or get some Batman DNA into a Robin uniform.
Well, I mean, I just like poking holes in the New 52 anytime I get, because I enjoyed him just being a 10-year-old boy that was 10 years old.
And you know what, Miles? He is still a 10-year-old boy that is 10 years old. His story has not been explained as far as I can tell.
It's absolutely true. He's also dead.
As far as how, well, he's also dead. Or is he?
No, he's dead.
Well, but his grandfather is also a guy that can bring people back to life using Lazarus pits. So.
Yeah, but depending on how, I think Dane's been dead for a little bit now. I think he's past the point of, I think you get 3 minutes.
Well, we'll see, is all I'm going to say. We'll see.
He's not going to be dead forever.
He's not going to be dead forever.
He's pretty popular Robin, I would say.
He was
a really popular Robin.
No, I think they'll probably bring him back. But so yeah, to move on with 28. Drew, you were kind of, well, before we got off from the New 52 stuff, you were talking about the characters they were introducing and.
Well, yeah, that's basically it. It's just really a tease because we're not going to really see what's going on with any of this until April, and it's February, so you got March. Okay, we got 2 months basically, which is a lot shorter than I thought it was going to be because I was really anticipating a lot longer wait because I feel like this was announced back in September and now we're finally gonna get it in just a couple of months here. But
yeah, and I really I liked this issue a lot because it was very tantalizing. It gave me enough to sate me, but not enough to satisfy me, so that I want to read Batman Eternal.
It's really like half an issue.
It is, and it's like a season finale of Lost, or season premiere of Lost, where suddenly you're halfway through the story, and so you're like, wait, why is this person here, and what happened between these two to put them at odds with each other? And it's just, But I'm also really on the fence about it because I am loving Zero Year as a story. I think Scott Snyder's story writing is some of the strongest it's been. I think Greg Capullo's art is some of the strongest it's been in in Zero Year, and I'm ready for that to be back. And we're gonna get a longer, like a 40 some odd issue, or 40 some odd page issue of Zero Year next month. Yeah. But I can't wait till next month. Scott Snyder, give it to me now.
I'm kind of on the fence. I am loving Zero Year, but after seeing my little preview of Batman Eternal and seeing one beloved character of mine return, I want to jump to this stuff because, like I said, I'm loving Year Zero. I think it's fantastic. I think, honestly, if it's not my favorite version of Batman's first year, it's tied for first.
It's so good. Yeah, no, it's I feel like what was missing in Frank Miller's is
talent.
Oh.
Well, I think the insight into his character, like I don't think he wrote Bruce Wayne really well. I think he wrote Batman quite well in his first year, but
wait, you're expecting character development from a Frank Miller book?
Well, I think we in year one you do get to see a lot of character development of Commissioner Gordon. You get to see a lot of Batman, but not their paths crossing, which is what Snyder is doing is kind of intertwining those characters. This is actually getting me excited for this Gotham TV show that's coming on.
Yeah, let's actually.
There's so much Batman stuff.
Let's actually switch focus because that's the issue we're going to talk about this week, and I feel like we've said probably about as much as we can, unless we only go back to Detective 27 from January. But we'll see where the world goes. But let's talk about the Gotham TV show that has been announced and in production, and we've got some information on some new characters this week.
I was so not excited for the series when they announced it before casting had been brought up because I was like, oh, a Batman show without Batman. No, thank you. It's like it's just like what can they do with it? It's like it's the same problem I was having with the Shield show as it continued on. It's like it's about the Marvel Universe. There's not a lot of Marvel Universe in the show. But they've cast Bat villains already, or a Bat villain, and from everything I've read, I never watched the OC or Southland or whatever the show is, but the
Southland,
guy they got to play Commissioner Gordon supposedly is got some chops.
No, he's a great actor. I know Drew wasn't super hot on him as Batman, but I really enjoyed his Batman. But he's a great actor, and I think a fantastic choice for Gordon.
I just thought his Batman was a little flat. For those that don't know, he was actually the voice of Batman in the Year One animated version that they did, which was on Netflix for a while. I don't know if it still is. It was good. Bryan Cranston was Commissioner Gordon, or Detective Gordon, I guess he was at that point, and he killed it. I thought, but again, I also see Year One as more of a Gordon story than I see as a Batman story.
No, it absolutely is, and I felt like Mackenzie took a little while to get comfortable with the role, but he did nail the best scene in Year One, the comic or the animated series or the animated film.
You have eaten well.
Yes. From this point on, none of you are safe. I love that moment is so amazing, and it is the one good thing I will credit Frank Miller for is that scene in the comic and the movie are just fantastic. And Mackenzie's delivery of that scene sold it for me.
There's not a lot of like you hear about in the early stages of Batman's career him building this mythos. It's like, is this person like real, or is he some kind of legend that's being passed around? You don't see that legend being built better, I think, than that scene where he's literally setting up like this huge visual feast for people that are not normally easily intimidated in order to play into what they've already heard. It's this crazy demonic figure. Like normally it's like, I mean, he's behind you, like if you're a mugger in an alley and he beats you up. You don't get a good glimpse of him. He doesn't talk to you. He just punches you in the face. And then moves on. I don't feel like that builds a reputation like the theatricality that he exhibits in the Frank Miller year one.
Well, and this is part of where I am still trepidatious about the show that Gotham seems to be pairing out to be, because it was set up from the very beginning to be this is a Detective Gordon, Lieutenant Gordon show, not even a Commissioner Gordon show. Bruce Wayne is 8 years old, yet we are already hearing that certain villains may be in it, and it's only going to be like a season before they start throwing the Joker into things, and I'm okay with that, but at the same time, I'm
not okay with them doing the Joker just because the creation of the Joker is so integral to Batman's first year.
Exactly.
I really wish that this was, maybe season 1 is year 0. This is like before Bruce Wayne actually starts, maybe even before he comes back. But I do not like this show taking place when he's a kid. I think flashbacks are going to be, incorporated, but.
From what I have gathered, Bruce Wayne will be about 12, and will not be the centerpiece of the show, but will continually appear. And I don't mind that as much. I really wish they would incorporate something like Paul Dini's Bloodhaven Academy idea that he had.
Paul Dini and Kevin Smith on the Fat Man on Batman podcast. That idea sounded great.
That sounded like the best show that will never be made.
I think I heard about that tangentially, but...
Probably from us.
Yeah, we were talking about it pretty heavily.
They did something very similar, and I forget the author that did it, but with James Bond, they made this whole young adult book series about James Bond in boarding school, in elementary school.
Well, they had the show James Bond Jr. No one can stop him, but scum always tries.
I've never seen that, but
he learned the game from his uncle James.
You got young Sherlock Holmes. This is tried and true formula. Let's get it.
But that's where I really loved. And what's funny about this is you got one interpretation of what Gotham was going to be before that episode of Fat Man on Batman aired, and then you got a different interpretation of what Gotham was going to be after it. So I have to wonder if there was something that's a good idea. We're going to take that. Oh, we gotta take that.
Yeah, I really enjoy the Gotham Central comic book, which is a Batman comic basically without Batman, trying to get around Batman. It's the Gotham City Police Department trying to deal with these crazy super villains that have really started because Batman's patrolling them. But trying to deal with them on their own level, and I'm excited to see that. I would like to see that on film, on TV.
I would too.
But I don't think you're going to get that. I think they are going to cave to pressure to put the big name villains in, even though these are villains that are kind of more often than not emerging in response to the Batman rather than the cause for the Batman.
Well, there are a lot. Can we name just the villains that Batman did not have a hand in creating or didn't egg on?
Penguin.
There are a lot. So Mr. Freeze, he had his own kind of.
Yeah, Poison Ivy had her own thing.
Yeah. Catwoman was just a jewel thief. Right before.
Well, it depends on which version of her origin you go with, because she, in some versions, she's inspired by the theatricality of Batman to be a little more sneaky with her cat stuff. I think the Joker is one of the few that is directly responsible.
Well, Two-Face is directly.
Yeah.
Well, Two-Face is responsible in a way. In this new version of the Batman's first year, the Riddler is kind of a response to Batman.
Yeah.
But not
Man-Bat.
Well, Man-Bat was basically the lizard story from Spider-Man.
That's true. But this is what I'm saying. I as far as what has been presented in comics, at least more contemporarily, before that Batman there was organized crime, and after Batman there are all of these sort of costumed freaks.
Yeah, so it's pretty important to realize Batman came about because there was already a problem existing in Gotham. Like, there was a lot of stuff that was going on that was terrible.
Well, but
Yeah,
that's
I mean, he was born
that's
out
what
of the city, this really horrible, crappy city that he has to save.
But this is sort of my point. I'm worried that from a like they're making a big deal out of it being Gotham City, and they're making a big deal about it being, where Batman is from, but he's a little kid, so he's not going to be there. But here's Commissioner Gordon as a young, rough and tough detective, and I don't think that I think they're worried that they're not going to have enough oomph with it just being Gordon and just being the mafia guys, like the Carmine Falcones and the
Right.
the others, which for me as a Batman fan, I mean, I love reading the Falcone stuff. I mean, the Long Halloween is one of my favorite Batman arcs, but it's just, I think the only one they could really get away with without just upsetting a lot of Batman fans is the Penguin, because he was already involved in organized crime. He's a well-known Batman villain. They could rewrite him to the point where
I think they could possibly do the Riddler and get away with it.
I don't know, man. They probably have to do like they did in Arkham Origins, where they make him the Enigma or something like that, where he's the same guy, but he's an early version of the same guy.
Now I do feel like the show is going to cave some pressure. I feel like you're going to have a Smallville thing going on, so you're going to have Bruce Wayne as an intrepid boy genius detective trying to help.
Which, if they're going to do that, then just do that show.
I am okay. Young Batman.
Because they said that they want to end the show with him putting on the cape and cowl. That's how they want to end the show.
Then make Gotham Academy. Listen to that Fat Man on Batman episode, and they laid out.
Hey, I don't disagree with you.
No, this is your fault, Miles.
Yeah. So
it's always my fault.
Patrick, how much do you know about Gotham Academy, the concept from Paul Dini and Kevin Smith?
I didn't listen to the Fat Man on Batman episode, but I heard him talk about it on another podcast where, like I said, he just mentioned it, and it sounds like that's where they're going now.
But so that's the thing. So it's Bloodhaven Academy, where Bruce is going to boarding school, and he's sneaking around, and so but they've got really clever ways to do kind of Smallville interpretations of villains. So like the Scarecrow is a psychology teacher at Bloodhaven Academy who's performing experiments on students. You've got
isn't Harvey Dent his roommate?
Harvey Dent, yeah, they said Harvey Dent was going to be his roommate, which is
on
just
the debate team.
Yeah, it's just great. It's great. But you've got what is it, the Bobcat, not the Bobcat, the one of his martial arts instructors.
Wildcat.
Wildcat, thank you.
Ted something.
Who is the gym teacher at Bloodhaven Academy, but Bruce, using his detective skills, discovers that he's the Wildcat and convinces him to train him.
Not only that, but you have this whole idea where there's a Skull and Bones type secret society that's been involved in things that's bad in Gotham. That's the main reason why Bruce is there, is to try to infiltrate that group. And at the end of the first season, you find out the leader of this group is Ra's al Ghul.
Or that's one interpretation. Or this secret society is related to the Court of Owls. Which
I think that was our interpretation.
Yeah, that would be nice,
I think,
but it's not good.
But what Paul Dini said was
Ra's al Ghul.
Ra's al Ghul, but I would love for the Court of Owls to be involved, because it's one of my favorite new villains in the last 10 years.
And I think more people need to know about the Court of Owls because they are awesome.
Creepy. What the problem is here is this has been done last year with Green Arrow. This is the best Batman show we're probably going to get for a while.
I mean, the story that they're talking about has not been done. I will agree that Arrow is the best Batman show we're going to get.
Yeah, just imagine Batman instead dresses in green, doesn't have a cape, uses bow and arrow.
And sometimes kill people.
Yeah, just
well,
call the
that's
show Bat instead of Arrow. And
I mean, that goes back to Smallville, though. I know the Green Arrow that we have on TV right now is a different Green Arrow than we had on Smallville, but it was supposed to be Batman on Smallville, but DC wouldn't let them because they had Batman Begins coming out, and they didn't want to confuse audiences.
yeah, they dumb. They could.
They're so concerned about confusing audiences, and I'm like, man, you guys did enough with Batman and Robin. I mean, you can't top that. An audience will never be confused again by the BS that you do.
Yeah, I don't understand that. I think people are smart enough to tell the difference between a big screen and little screen. Like I personally, I would love. Well, I would like to see, obviously the next Batman Superman film spin off into Justice League, and I would like to see Green Arrow on the big screen in Justice League, and it could be a different actor. I'm not gonna be like, hey, that's not the guy.
But it would also be cool, and I think it would be a smart move for DC, where DC right now is trying to play catch up to Marvel and get an Avengers style movie out, which I think is both awesome, but also really.
Yeah, I think they've kind of realized they need to slow the roll, so that's why they've delayed Superman Batman until 2016 and Justice League probably till 2018.
But again, this is one of those things where if you have a lot of, not your A-list characters, but your like B and C-list characters, and I know Green Arrow fans are probably going to hate on me right now, but Green Arrow is easily a B or C-list hero for the vast majority of people.
Yeah.
You bring that guy into the movie. He can be in the movie. I have no problem with him being in the movie. It will actually probably increase viewership of the movie.
Nah, we don't need him. We can get someone else.
I mean, they've talked about it, and he said he would, if he was asked to, he would totally do it because it'd be an awesome opportunity. But I mean, I don't think anyone is going to be entirely upset if he's not in the movie. I mean, Green Arrow is not necessarily a necessity for a Justice League movie.
Yeah, no, they're going to get a movie actor if they cast this movie role.
Although the way Arrow goes, it would work perfectly. I mean, just saying.
Well, there's also rumors that there's going to be a Nightwing showing up on Green Arrow, or on Arrow, and a Nightwing showing up in Batman vs. Superman / Justice League, and that they could end up being the same actor, which just throws a whole other wrench into the situation.
I mean,
interesting, but I don't think that's going to come.
DC is not always the best with managing multiple things at one time, as we have seen with the New 52. They do not handle these sort of things well. So we'll see where that's going. I'm really excited about Gotham, though. I think it could be a really interesting show. It's too early to tell.
You've got Donald Logue announced this week is going to be Harvey Bullock.
He's going to be fantastic.
No, that really sold me. That's why I'm going to be watching this. I didn't really get a lot of the other casting. It's like, oh, that guy kind of looks like a young Penguin, I guess. But Donald Logue, I mean, besides being great for Harvey Bullock, is a great actor.
Yeah, he is, absolutely is. But he's
great show.
Perfect for Bullock.
Yeah. Jada Pinkett Smith was announced as like a head gangster.
Yeah, she's an original character for the show.
Yeah, I mean, that's cool, I guess.
If she's not named Lark, I am gonna be upset.
No, she's not. They called her something else, like Fish Money or something.
Fish Mooney.
Fish Mooney, yeah.
Yes, Fish Mooney.
DC, what you doing? What you doing, Fish Mooney? That's weird. Come on, guys.
Yeah. But still, I mean, it's too early to tell because of all the pilots that are being shot this year. That one's still way down the line. But I think it'll be interesting. I'm looking forward to it. The other piece of Batman news, I guess, we got is that they're re-releasing Batman Arkham Origins Blackgate for consoles and PC with a Year Zero skin as the downloadable content for it.
Yeah, and this was the mobile game on PlayStation Vita, and was it on 3DS too?
I think so.
Just on Vita?
Yeah, it was a 2.5 Metroidvania kind of Batman game that I heard was pretty good.
I heard mixed things. I still haven't finished Arkham Origins. I need to get back in and do that, especially because I also got the season pass when it was on sale, on a Steam sale.
Oh, nice.
Which, by the way, I'll have to also thank Miles because he is the reason I have Arkham Origins to begin with. He hooked me up on a very bad day that I was having, and and I feel guilty that I haven't finished it yet. But
It's no problem.
But the first big story DLC for that's going to be Mr. Freeze.
Oh, nice. I know they had that Bruce Wayne one that's apparently super hard.
Yeah, it's basically combat. It's just it's him and it's a fight club kind of thing while he's training.
The Nightfall DLC was not the easiest to get through.
Oh, see, I don't have the Nightfall DLC because I think that was on
PS3 exclusive.
PS3 exclusive.
Yeah.
Or at least it was at the time. We'll see if it comes out for any other.
I'm sure it will. I mean, the only cool thing about it was like you got the actual Jean-Paul Valley costume, which is really neat.
Is it though? It is not really neat. It is dumb.
No,
it is a dumb
great.
costume.
It looks great.
It's required in the history of comic books to have a
terrible costume,
a cable-like costume. Where it's like, I need pouches everywhere.
Hang on, let me see if I can call up this.
If I don't have a pouch immediately on my shoulder, right underneath this massive shoulder pad, armor, and like a gauntlet of like little pouches around my wrist,
and that big ass cape that's like a bunch of like Mr. Sinister like shards.
How does Batman like he has to get to his belt every time? What if someone just takes his belt? No. You got like 50 belts, and you just strap them all over, and it's really hard to take them all.
How about the bat signal on his chest?
Oh yeah, because he shines that on Bane, I think.
That he shines on enemies. Come on, Google Images, give me something I can work with here.
Yeah, I don't know, like, I have a fondness for how terrible that costume was, and the story itself, the Nightfall story, is fantastic.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the thing is, we can make fun of it all we want because it's not Bruce Wayne. That's not really Batman. That is Jean-Paul Valley.
Here, I'm doing a little screen share if you guys can see this. This is the costume that we're talking about, where you've got the weird Spawn shoulders and the...
Look at all those crazy muscles.
Yeah, what muscles are those? That is like...
Those just look like pimples.
Those are tumors. He's got tumors. Bat tumors.
Yeah, is that Joe Kelly's art?
It
looks like it. Because when he used to draw Batman,
Kelly Jones did the cover.
Kelly Jones. Joe Kelly's the writer.
90 comics are great for this very reason. It's like, what were these people thinking?
Yeah, but at the same time, like seeing that costume again in a video game was fun. You know, it was just.
Does it have all of the extra goodies that came with it?
No, it's just a skin.
So it doesn't have the disc launchers out of the wrists?
No, it's just like in Batman Arkham City. It's just like in Batman Arkham City when you were Batman Beyond, you weren't flying around.
You didn't have rocket boots.
I wish you had rocket boots.
I do too. I love Batman Beyond.
Yeah.
Which, are you guys reading Batman Beyond 2.0 on?
I haven't yet, but I love Kyle Higgins, so I need to.
Yeah, me neither.
It's good. It's really good.
I usually pick that stuff up in print, to be honest.
Well, I'm a digital comics guy because I'm new to everything, and I don't have a tie to a comic book store. But
yeah, and it totally makes sense. Speaking of supplemental Batman stuff, I kind of wanted to, since it's our first episode, get into who your favorite secondary or supporting Batman characters are.
Jason Todd.
No, I know you're just saying that to egg me on.
Okay. Let's see.
Bane of my existence.
No, we know Miles well enough. I'm just gonna say that Miles's favorite Batman supporting character is Tim Drake, aka the Third Robin.
He's my favorite Robin too.
It's a good man.
Yeah,
not only that, but honestly, Tim Drake was one of my favorite fictional characters. Period. I've always loved that character, and so obviously my favorite supporting Batman character would be Tim Drake.
Miles, show off your devotion to Tim Drake real quick.
My devotion to Tim Drake is my Robin symbol on my wrist that I had tattooed about 5 years ago.
Nice.
So he's got it. He's got his love for Tim Drake indelibly dyed on his skin.
Forever. What about you guys? Because I mean, I think that anyone who's listened to anything that we've ever done, and honestly, if you're watching this now, you probably have heard us before. So I love Tim Drake. But I really haven't heard a lot from you guys who your favorite characters are.
I don't understand why Commissioner Gordon hasn't put on a mask and prowled around at night at some point, because he is a superhero in so many ways. I think he, in a lot of ways, rivals Batman in detective skills, obviously. And then
depending on how he's written.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like any of the supporting characters.
Well, if he's such a great detective, how come he hasn't figured out who Batman is?
Okay,
he doesn't want to figure out
debatable.
because he doesn't want to figure out who Batman is. In fact, if you look at when they were feuding with each other during No Man's Land, Batman takes off the cowl and says, "This is who I am," and Commissioner Gordon doesn't look around. He's like, "I don't want to know who you are. I'm okay with."
I remember that.
They they're on the same side, but they're on different sides of the same coin. Basically, they're both trying to get Gotham to a good place, but they've got different methods, and they're not afraid to use one another to help one another out. But just writers have been going to James Gordon more and more in their stories and making him more and more of an awesome detective, awesome fighter. Year one, he's trained ex-military or this.
Wasn't he the Green Beret?
Zero.
Or was he fighting the Green Beret guy, the
I can't
sniper
remember.
dude?
He was able to tell his fighting style and take him out. So
Yeah, that's
he
true.
had some
That's
pretty
true.
amazing training.
Yeah, I mean, Gordon's a fantastic character. It always has been. And I think that's why you have a lot of stuff like Gotham Central and things that are central to Gordon's story, because he kind of gives us the human perspective of Batman. He is Gotham City in a sense.
And he's just been written so well. Like I said, you've got Alan Moore. I think one of the most quintessential Gordon moments is after his daughter's been shot and violated. And the Joker has submitted him in the Killing Joke to these horrific things. He still yells at Batman and is like, "You bring him in alive. You do it by the book and show him our way can work too." It's a form of devotion that you don't see in any other superhero character besides Batman.
Yeah, I was about to say the same thing. I mean, outside of Batman, his willpower is pretty indelible. Even Jeff Loeb, who is not always the best Batman writer, or the best DC writer, period, you have that moment where he talks Batman down from killing the Joker in Hush.
Yeah.
That's how that scene plays out.
I haven't read Hush in a while, but Hush is also not one of my favorite Batman stories.
No, it was basically an excuse to get Jim Lee to draw every DC character he could. That's all that thing is. But the story is kind of BS.
Well, I can't believe you guys have not mentioned truly Batman's greatest supporting character, Alfred.
Is that your favorite Batman supporting character?
So it depends on how he's. Alfred is one of those characters that some people get very right and some people get very wrong when he's written.
Batman 66, where he puts on a mask and drives the Batmobile. Those are always the best episodes.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. I think it was an episode of Mr. Freeze.
You do not see that in the comic books very often.
But there has been this increasing way to write Alfred as if he's not just a butler / medic / guy who raised Bruce Wayne. He now has to be this former hardcore SAS British special ops operative that has all this training, and that's the Earth 1 interpretation with the Earth 1 book.
Oh, that book was such a failure.
It just wasn't as good.
The art was fantastic, though.
I love the art.
Reading through this Snyder stuff, it's like, why couldn't this be what Jeff Johns wrote?
And that's the thing. Jeff Johns is a great writer usually, but that book was garbage.
Well, and then it also had to compare to Superman Earth 1, which was amazing.
Fantastic.
I love
Superman
Earth 1 was good.
One of the best Superman stories.
Except I found Clark to kind of come off as a little full of himself, but
that's fine.
It's a different interpretation, and it's they could have made an Ultimate Comics out of that world if Batman had succeeded and it didn't. So it's
they're making
Grant,
another one.
Grant Morrison's
doing Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman Earth 1, which sounds interesting.
I will read that. I will read the heck out of that.
I will also read the heck out of that. But Alfred, see, to me, I love the idea of Alfred as being this, effectively failed actor who gets called to be a butler for this family and who's just sort of proper, and I like that because it's on one hand the complete opposite of what Batman really needs as a support person, but it's also absolutely what Bruce Wayne needs as a support person.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Snyder has written him very, very well.
I think in the films, Michael Caine blew it out of the park. Is some of the best scenes in any of the Batman films involve him, grounding the movie in an emotional, spectrum. Without him, there's not a lot of human connections to Bruce Wayne or Batman. Him tearing up, and burning the note in two, and when young Bruce Wayne is it's my fault. Oh, and then him crying at the end of Dark Knight Rises.
Oh God, that
so rough. Every time I watch that, I'm like, well, I just want to call up Michael Caine and be like, "Can I give you a hug right now?" He's like,
See,
I'm in England. It's like, I'll come right now.
I want to cry watching the ending of Dark Knight Rises because it depresses me because my Batman would never give up on Gotham City. He'd never quit and run away.
I am not gonna. I had a debate about this movie yesterday. I'm not getting another Dark Knight Rises debate. I love that movie.
Yeah, I mean, we'd have to have a whole nother show based around Batman if we want to talk about Batman the entire show. Oh wait, no, that's what we're doing right now.
Okay, so I have only seen Dark Knight Rises once. I saw it in the theater when it first came out. I have not seen it since.
Well, okay. How about this for next month? That can be a talking point for. We'll do a retro review for Dark Knight Rises. We'll watch it again before the next episode.
I still think that my problems with the film are going to be there. I still think I'm going to hate that Batman quits because his girlfriend exploded.
Here's the thing, though.
Batman doesn't quit. Batman wins.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, Patrick. But here's the one thing and I felt like I had to come to this realization is Nolan's Batman is Nolan's Batman. It is not the Batman.
This is true.
And
Nolan's Batman is also not very much of a detective.
Yes, and that was a huge problem I had with the character. But he tried to make him a realistic as he could as far as if we were to do a realistic superhero movie, a realistic Batman, maybe he wouldn't be the best at everything. It's just a guy using what he has, right at this point, money and experience. And so in that version of Batman, this is kind of like my Earth 1 Batman. It's not the Batman I know and love. It's not the Batman I necessarily want to see on screen, but I thought it was still a great Batman story.
Well, the problem that I had with it is that it did not fulfill the promise of The Dark Knight. And the promise of The Dark Knight, and really the promise of the end of Batman Begins, is that because there is now this mythical figure on the scene in Gotham City that, and I think the Joker even says that a different class of criminal is going to start rising to the surface.
And at the end, you've got Robin popping up in the Batcave about to bust some skulls.
Yeah, but again, this is the thing. That's not Batman. That's some cop.
That's Batman Incorporated.
Some cop with something to
Batman.
to
What that
prove.
is.
But
we know how much you love that.
But that's not what I'm saying. That what I'm saying is in the 8-year gap that happens in the continuity between Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises, this promise that now that there's Batman on the scene, all of these other crazies are going to come out of the woodwork, and no one does. We don't have any other crazy Batman class villain.
Yeah,
they've all been locked up.
No, if they wanted to make 3 more movies, obviously there would have been, but they were wanting to tie up the 3rd movie without having 10 criminals to deal with.
But you could have done something different. You could have still used Bane. You could have also let Bane be Bane and not let Bane be somebody's lackey. But that's a whole other thing. I don't know. I guess I need to see it again.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be fun. I did want to suggest us having a review segment. So I think this would be a good place to start. Just because I think it'd be kind of cool to go back and look at some of these old Batman things. One of my ideas, and we can talk about this later, was for each episode to review an episode of the animated series.
Which is all on Amazon Prime now. Everybody can watch it. Yes!
Right, and I think it'd be fun to go through that series and maybe do a two-parter story together, and kind of, because I haven't seen that show in forever, and go back and kind of step through each episode.
And if we go long enough and we get done with those episodes, we'll go into Batman Beyond and Justice League,
Batman and all that stuff.
The Batman, which I don't think is streaming anywhere. Brave and the Bold is on Netflix right now.
Yeah.
Justice League, which has got some great Batman moments.
Oh, some great Batman Wonder Woman moments too.
Yeah.
My son is really enjoying Batman Brave and the Bold right now.
Bat.
He's 2 years old and he calls Batman Bat, and it's adorable. And
Bat.
I promise I will catch it on audio and play it at some point.
That'll be our theme song. It's just Bat.
No.
Maybe that's how we sign off.
Yeah, I was gonna say on that note, I think that's probably the sign that we probably should reel it in for the evening.
Yeah, so just to let you guys know how you can get in touch with us, because this is an offshoot of The More You Nerd, you can always check us out at themoreyounerd.com. You can email us specifically for the Late Night with Cape Crusader at LKWB for Late Night with Batman Show at gmail.com. LKWB@gmail.com. If you're catching us on the podcast feed and you would like to catch us live, you can go to youtube.com/late night, LATEKNIGHT, and check us out there. This is probably not going to be a weekly show. We're probably going to do monthly for this, but if it gets into us enough, we might do some fun things. So check us out at the More You Nerd on Twitter, because we're going to be announcing everything from there. So until next time, guys, we will see you next time.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
Some bat time, some bat YouTube channel.
Maybe we'll get the same bat time, but it'll be the same bat YouTube channel.
We were already 15 minutes late tonight, so that didn't really work out. But we will see you next time, guys.
Bat out.
Bye-bye.